What is going on, everyone? My name is Andy. Welcome back to another FPL video. And this one is some of my final thoughts ahead of the Game Week 3 deadline. So I'm going to go through the key press conference information, and spoiler alert, Cole Palmer is out for Game Week 3. I'm going to talk about some of the new signings, answer a couple of questions, and talk about my plans for my team as well. So let's get into it. So let's start with the big news, and that is that Cole Palmer is out for Game Week 3. He's going to miss Fulham at home. He's also not been picked in the England squad for international duty either. In terms of whether he'll be back for Game Week 4, Enzo Maresca also talked about Lavia and Badiashile and said that those two he doesn't expect back after the break. With Cole Palmer, they're taking his fitness day by day. So I suspect he's going to miss Game Week 3, and I would not be surprised if he's back for Game Week 4. So that means that you don't have to sell him. A few people have said that to me. What if I've got someone on the bench I'm happy to play? I want to keep Cole Palmer long term. Absolutely, that's what you should do. But I would say for a lot of people, if you're in a similar position to me, having or selling him and then having a plan on how you get him back might be pretty worthwhile, especially if it improves your overall squad. As we'll come on to later on, I've now got another injury problem in my team potentially. So selling Palmer, upgrading Guiu, and then having a better bench to cover any other issues, that just feels like the right play for me. In terms of other knock-ons for Chelsea, in terms of knock-on effects, João Pedro will almost certainly play that number 10 role now, and his minutes will go up, and there's a chance he'll get penalties while Palmer is out, but it could also be Enzo Fernandez. So don't think that if Chelsea get a penalty, João Pedro will definitely take it, but I think he would be in contention. But of course, if Palmer's back for Game Week 4, then João Pedro is probably not going to play that number 10 role every single week, but he will play number 9, but then you've got the chance of him being subbed early if Liam Delap doesn't play. So I think João Pedro this week in particular looks really good. Game Week 4 onwards, I don't know if his FPL appeal in my eyes has improved that much, but he's still a good pick, right? He's nice and cheap and around 7.5 million, so someone you could look at picking up. So Cole Palmer, sell him if you want to, don't if you don't want to. It doesn't matter. He probably will drop in price tonight to 10.4 million, which is not ideal. But if you still think he's a great long-term pick, don't let that price change affect you too much, because if he does well, his price can easily go back up. But for me, as I'll talk about later, I'm probably going to sell him. So if you've been thinking about signing up to Fantasy Football Hub and haven't quite done it yet, now might be a good time to do it, because they've got a limited time promotion on ahead of Game Week 3. Basically, if you sign up before the deadline and don't get a green arrow this week, you will get your money back. Simple as that. So all you have to do is submit your FPL ID and email using the link in the description below. Sign up to Fantasy Football Hub. Follow the AI's captain pick. So go into the My Team tool, see who it recommends you captaining, and then use that captain for Game Week 3. And then get a green arrow, hopefully, which is what we're all intending to do. And if you don't, you get a refund. Simple as that. So if you have been thinking about using the My Team tool, the fixture analyzer, the Opta stats, the AI suggested transfers, now is a good time to sign up. Just make sure you do it before the deadline. Terms and conditions apply, of course, as well. All the info you need in the link in the description below. So let's cover the rest of the team news. For Brighton, Fabian Hertzler said that Jorginho Ruta could be available, but that he's not sure. And this is the problem with Hertzler and Brighton players. He's not that forthcoming with injury information. My gut instinct is that Ruta will be in the squad, but I can't guarantee that he'll start. So if you're struggling for players this week and your bench doesn't look great, you've got a spare transfer, I would be quite tempted to move him on to like a Kudus or a Sarr or an Elliot Anderson, Reinders, Dango Utara punt from Brentford, any one of those players in and around that price. If you've got the transfer, I'd be tempted to do it. For Everton, Mykolenko is fit to start again. It's not really a big impact on FPL, but if you're sat there with Dewsbury Hall like I am, when Mykolenko goes to left back, Garner's going to go back into midfield, presumably. Will Dewsbury Hall stay as the number 10? Like, will it be Garner and Idrissa Gana Gueye behind him? Will Dewsbury Hall move back so Njai, Grealish and Dibbling can play behind the striker? We're going to find that out over the next few weeks or the next few game weeks when David Moyes has got all his players fit again. But obviously, Mykolenko back is good for their defence in general if you're sat there with Tarkowski, for example. Newcastle, share is available. Now, for most people, that doesn't matter. But if you're on free hit Game Week 3 and you want a Newcastle defender, somebody's got to take penalties this week. Isak's not going to play. Anthony Gordon suspended. Could it be Fabian Schär? It's a possibility. I also think Bruno Guimaraes has got a chance as well. But for those of you that want a punt, Schär could be worth looking at. Tonali might play. Joe Linton's out for Game Week 3. So that does impact Newcastle in general. But I still think against Leeds, who've got their own injury issues, Ampadu and Tanaka out, they're still worth looking at, especially for short-term punts like Barnes and Elanga. So Strand Larsen seems to be a small doubt for game week 3. Vitor Pereira said he's dealing with a small injury problem and I hope he can play tomorrow. So he's not been ruled out or anything like that. And I wouldn't panic if you're an owner. We saw in the first couple of games, at times he seemed to be struggling with something, but he still played good minutes in the first 2 game weeks and he came off the bench midweek in the Carabao Cup as well. So it doesn't look like it's a huge problem. I would say don't buy him right now. You can definitely put off that decision for later on. If you've got him, I wouldn't bench him. I would play him and I probably wouldn't use a transfer. And I think there's a good chance he starts, not a guarantee, of course, but I think he probably will. Liverpool, Bradley trained all week, so presumably he'll start right back against Arsenal and McAllister is available again. So if Bradley does start right back, Szoboszlai is not going to play there. And if McAllister is available, he'll start. So is it going to be Gravenberch, McAllister and Wirtz? Gravenberch, McAllister and Szoboszlai? I think, like I said last week, there's not a 0 chance of Wirtz getting benched, but I'd be surprised if he is. So if you're an owner and you're thinking about keeping him, I suspect he will start against Arsenal. I think it would be weird to spend all that money and take him out of a game like that, especially when it's at home. And it's not been a great start for him, and Liverpool have looked quite open. But I think Arne Slot will fix that in other ways. I don't think it's going to be by benching Wirtz. But I have to say, the thought has crossed my mind. Like, it's not impossible it happens, but I don't think it will. For Arsenal, Saka's out for a few weeks, so he probably needs to be sold. Odegaard's not completely ruled out for the Liverpool game, so he might play, which I guess puts some doubts on Eze's minutes if you're thinking about taking a punt on him. But I suspect Eze's going to start that game, either centrally or off the left. But we'll wait and see what happens. There's definitely a risk there. And Havertz is out for many, many weeks, which means Gyökeres is obviously a great option. He's going to start number 9. There's not really too many players there to take his minutes. Moreno maybe, but I just don't see that happening all that often. I think that is just there's no one else we can play. We've got to play Moreno type thing. And Gyökeres is going to be on penalties as well. So although it's Liverpool away this week, he looks like not a bad option long-term whatsoever. And then for Fulham, Harry Wilson apparently has got a bit of a knock. Marco Silva said nothing serious, still in pain after exams, nothing serious. We'll see if he's available. So no guarantee he starts this week. Obviously, he didn't start in game week 2 either. If you had him, I guess you just wait and see what happens because the fixtures after the break are quite good. But they are still trying to sign more attackers. I've said this all pre-season. Harry Wilson definitely do not buy. But because he's so cheap, if you've got him and you want to give him another chance, maybe going into game week 4, that's probably fine as well. And then for Man City, Pep Guardiola has confirmed that Aït-Nouri is available. So if you own him, I would expect him to be in the starting 11 again this week. So no need to sell him. And if you went for Ballard at Sunderland, he's out for 2 to 3 weeks. So I suspect there's going to be a lot of transfer activity from Premier League clubs over the next few days. The transfer window doesn't shut until 7 p.m. UK time on Monday. 2 signings that I think people will want me to talk about are Woltemade to Newcastle and Xavi Simons to Spurs. Now, at the time recording, neither of these transfers is official, but it does look like they're definitely going to happen. And by the time you watch this, they could have gone through and the clubs will be tweeting about them and stuff like that. Neither is an option for game week 3 because they're not going to play. They're not going to be available. So don't think about bringing them in this week. Even if you were thinking like PALMER to Xavi Simons to have him on the bench ready for game week 4, and then upgrade a forward or something like that, I still wouldn't do it. So they're possible options from game week 4 onwards. My predicted price for Woltemade at Newcastle is 7.5 million. I think he will come in at the same price as like Wood, Mateta, Visser, etc. Maybe he'll be 7, like Evan Nilsson. But I think you've got to be careful about not underpricing Newcastle's number 9 because there could be a lot of FPL points on offer. Personally, he's a wait and see for me because I suspect Newcastle are going to sign someone else as well. I just do not see them going into the season with Isak potentially leaving, which hasn't happened yet. Woltemade number 1, then Osula is his backup. I think they'll still go and sign someone like Visser, and then we'll eventually see Isak go to Liverpool. And in that scenario, you would assume that Woltemade's first choice, but Visser's got a lot of Premier League experience. We saw what he did for Brentford last year. I think Woltemade will be used quite a lot, but not to the point where he's an FPL pick initially. I think he'll be eased in a little bit. Even if you think about when Isak first joined Newcastle, I don't think he went straight in as first choice. Like Wilson got a lot of minutes. So if they get Woltemade and Visser, I think they'll share minutes quite a lot. And basically neither will be an option without an injury. Xavi Simons is going to get a lot more minutes, in my opinion. I think he's going to go straight into that team when he's available. Probably is a number 10. He can play on the right and left as well. So Kudus, Brennan Johnson's minutes maybe slightly under threat, but I don't see it in a big way right now. If Spurs sign Xavi Simons and a winger, then Brennan Johnson I'd be really put off from. I think Kudus' minutes will be fairly safe. But yeah, Xavi Simons probably going to go in and play as a number 10. I suspect his price will be 7 million. So slightly more than Kudus, but the same price as Brennan Johnson started the season at. 25 starts for him last year, 10 goals, 6 assists. His underlying numbers in terms of expected goals per 90 expected assists are actually quite similar to Wirtz from the Bundesliga last season, who obviously hasn't started that well. So I think at 7 million, you can probably talk yourself into taking a punt a bit more than 8.5. But I wouldn't expect him to come in and start banging tons of goals and assists. But I think with Spurs fixtures, he's definitely worth looking at. If you get to game week 4, West Ham away, Brighton away, Wolves at home, Leeds away, and you want to take a punt, I quite like him. So I don't see Ivor coming into my team just yet, even in game week 4. But right now, because I think Newcastle will sign someone else, Woltemade will be a wait and see. Xavi Simons I'll be more interested in probably straight away. But you've got Kudus for less money at 6.6. Although I guess Xavi Simons could come in at 6.5. I think he'll be more than that. So let's get into some of your questions. Is it better to use the Saka funds to increase my squad depth, for example, upgrading Guiu to a playing forward, or take a punt on someone like Cunha or Mbeumo with a nice fixture? Now, one thing to take into account when you're spreading money around is how quickly you can get to more expensive players later on. So for my team, when I'm thinking about selling Palmer, similar situation to you with Saka, if I sell Saka and Guiu to like 7.5 million attackers, that's fine. My overall squad depth gets better. But if I want to get back to like a Saka or a Palmer, or maybe even a forward like Gyökeres, for example, then it's going to take another 2 transfers to shift that money around. So part of the reason you might want to start with like a Palmer or Saka is you've got that price point to easily move to someone else. The problem with that right now, who would you even move to, right? Bruno Fernandes, most people don't want at 9 million. Palmer's injured, Saka's injured as well. The only midfielder more expensive than that is Salah, and most people have already made their decision. You either already own him or you've gone the Haaland route. So actually spreading the money around right now doesn't feel like a massive problem. And I think with Saka, because of the fixtures, even if he was back for game week 4, there wouldn't be a mad panic to have him for Forest at home, I don't think. And then it's City at home and Newcastle away. So you're pushing that decision down the line till kind of game week 7 onwards. Similar with Palmer, if you sell him, you're probably not bringing him back until about game week 9. So I think having a decent squad depth can be handy. Like right now, imagine if I had an injury but a better player on my bench, I wouldn't be having to use transfers. There is value in having a better overall squad depth. I also think take into account your chips. If you've already used your bench boost, there's maybe less reason to have more money on the bench. If you haven't, then this also gives you a chance to not only improve your squad overall, but give you an option in the next few weeks to potentially use that bench boost. So I see this as a similar situation to Palmer. For a lot of people, it will make sense to spread funds. But you don't have to do it. If you're happy enough with the squad and you just want to move to one player and then maybe move that player on in the next few weeks, that's also perfectly fine to do. So our Newcastle midfielders being overlooked like Barnes and Elanga, now that Gordon is not playing and there's no strikers available, they'll both play and the next 2 fixtures are good. So Gordon's suspended for 3 games. Barnes and Elanga will start the next 3. I don't really see any doubts with that. Osler is available, so he'll probably play number 9 against Leeds, but it's not going to have a massive impact on Barnes or Elanga's minutes for this week. In game week 4, you'd assume that Woltemade will start, or potentially if they buy another number 9 like Visser, he could start instead. But again, Barnes and Elanga will be the 2 left and right. The bigger problem really, and why they're being overlooked a little bit, is long-term minutes. So once you get to Arsenal at home in game week 6 when Gordon's back, presumably he'll come straight in left wing. And if not, he's a definite sub on in that game. They'll have a new number 9. And then you've probably got Elanga on the right. But if Elanga's on the right and Gordon's on the left, Harvey Barnes becomes an issue. But he can also sub on in both those positions. So right now, Barnes and Elanga are probably going to be 90-minute men for the next 3. After that, the minutes go right down. So it's all about whether they're worth the punt for the next 3 games. Now, Newcastle themselves have a few injury problems like Tonali and Joelinton, which might have an impact on their attack. And yes, they've got no Gordon, no number 9, so it's good for Barnes and Elanga's minutes. It might not be good for their attack overall, but I think they'll do well against Leeds away and Wolves at home. It depends how long-term you want them. If you want to bring someone in for the next 5, 6, 7 weeks, you're probably better off looking elsewhere. But if you do want a short-term player, Leeds away and Wolves at home are 2 good fixtures, then of course look at Barnes or Elanga. I said on the game week preview I'd go with Barnes. I'd probably stick to that, but there's really not much in it. If you want to go for Elanga instead, you should, but don't assume they're both going to keep playing longer term. There will be a dip in minutes for all of them, I would say. So after the cup games, is there a chance that Cunha is a minutes risk after playing the full 90? Now, I will say straight away, my predicted Man United lineup against Burnley at home in game week 3 would have Cunha in it. So I do think he's going to start, but I will also say this slight doubt did run through my mind as well, because Šeško got a start against Grimsby in the cup midweek, and I kind of saw that as a way to build up his match fitness, then start him against Burnley, hope that he gets a goal, and then have him in the team ready for City away in 4 and Chelsea at home in 5. And obviously Mason Mount didn't start midweek, who Amorim really likes. So potentially, if Šeško is going to start against Burnley, it could be him number 9, Mount and Mbeumo as the 10s, because Mbeumo also didn't start that midweek game. So I think there's potential for that to happen, but I think the chance is close to 0 that Cunha doesn't start. And part of the reason I think that is because Man United have lost to Arsenal, they've drawn against Fulham, and they've lost against Grimsby. Ruben Amorim cannot lose to Burnley at home. The pressure is already mounting on him. You lose that game, you're pretty much done. And for that reason, I'm now less confident about him starting Šeško. I think he'll go with a team that he trusts more, and that will be Mount and Mbeumo as the 10s, and Cunha playing number 9. Now, during that game, that could change, right? Šeško could come on, Cunha maybe get subbed this time. But I think he'll always veer towards subbing Mount first because of fitness and stuff like that. Whereas Cunha can just go and play back-to-back 90s all the time. He's just that kind of player. So I think he will start, but I think asking the question is reasonable because of what happened midweek. I just cannot see it. I think he'll go Cunha number 9 because he needs the win. There's a separate problem here that Šeško, if he doesn't start, will have not started any of the 3 games going into City away Chelsea. But that's a Man United problem, not an FPL one right now. So I think Cunha will start. But like I said, I think it's reasonable to ask the question. But I'm pretty sure he's going to be number 9. I think Mount will get subbed before Cunha. So I just want to run through some final thoughts on my own team ahead of tomorrow's deadline. This is how I'm currently set up. So Sanchez in goal with Fulham at home. I think that's perfectly fine. I'm also quite happy with my back 3 this week. I don't see any major problems there. Nico Williams against West Ham at home. Good chance of getting their first clean sheet of the season. Agbadou against Everton at home. On paper, not bad whatsoever. And then Pedro Porro against Bournemouth at home. Pedro Porro went up in price last night. My first price rise of the season, which I kind of needed because I think I'm going to lose some team value over the next week or two. Midfield doesn't look quite so good. Salah's obviously a keep, but Arsenal at home's not a great fixture. Dewsbury Hall is fine as an enabler for 5 million. And he is continuing to play in that number 10 role. Hopefully that continues long term. But ideally, I would like him on the bench most weeks. Bruno Fernandes, I'm going to captain. I'm not going to back out from that decision. That was my intention in pre-season when I made this team. I can't see enough reason to change that. Now, when I said on my team selection video that I need to see something big in order to change my mind, lots of people replied, as you'd expect, saying, well, Man United lost to Grimsby. That's enough reason to back out. I just feel like that's a massive overreaction. I know things aren't looking great at Man United right now, but we shouldn't pretend that Burnley are the stronger team. Could Burnley win at Old Trafford? Of course, right? It would be typical Man United. But I think most people would agree, the bookies would definitely agree, Man United are the team more likely to score 2 or 3. And yes, Bruno Fernandes is playing in central midfield, but he will get forward at times. Am I confident in it? Not really, but part of that is just because I've been burnt by him so many times before. But I don't often captain him, to be fair. I just think if I'm going to go against Salah, this is the week to do it. Like, Salah will be my captain in 4 and 5. Haaland will be my captain in 6. Game week 7, we'll worry about that when we get there. So Bruno Fernandes staying, and he's going to be my captain. Wirtz, I'm not happy about, but because Palmer is out for game week 3 and Strand Larsen is a doubt, there's not much I can do with Wirtz. So he's going to have to stay as well. I could sell Wirtz, I guess, and keep Palmer on the bench, but I wouldn't have as much money to upgrade Guy, so I'd have to do Wirtz down to like Sarr or Kudus, and then use the 1.9 million to upgrade a defender, like do Joachim Andersen up to like Murillo or something like that, or Milenkovic from Nottingham Forest. But that just, it doesn't feel great using 2 moves to remove Wirtz when he's got Burnley away next week to get a defender. I think I'd rather sell Palmer. Now, at the time of recording, Palmer's not been red flagged, but we know he will be, and Strand Larsen will get yellow flagged. And then Watkins against Palace home. Again, not a problem. I've got bigger issues to deal with. So just to run through some thoughts right now, I will consider the wildcard later today, but I don't foresee me activating it. I've got 2 free transfers. I can deal with the issues that I've got. Obviously, the confirmed news about Palmer's only just happened at the time I'm recording this. Same with Strand Larsen. So I've not given wildcard much thought. I will say this, though. Anytime I've seen someone's wildcard draft for Game Week 3, I can't really get enthusiastic about it. I'd rather use 2 free transfers. And even if I have another terrible week, if I then have to wildcard in Game Week 4 without any saved transfers, so be it. I just can't see a good enough reason to use it this week. Because I think ultimately, longer term, I want Arsenal players. I don't necessarily want them against Liverpool away, and I'm not going to stack up on Man United players on my wildcard because I don't want to be stuck with them longer term. So I can't see a great reason to do it other than, well, Wirtz is playing Arsenal and that's annoying. But you're going to have weeks where you got players without optimal fixtures, if you want to put it that way. So I don't see me using it. If I sell Palmer and upgrade Guiu, that puts Dewsbury Hall on the bench. And then that is okay cover for Strand Larsen. As I said earlier, I think Strand Larsen will probably play. He looked to have been struggling with a bit of an injury in the first 2 games, and he still played. He played midweek as well. So it does seem to be a minor thing. I do wonder whether the manager is kind of saying that so that he's got a reason to take him out if he's not happy about not getting to move to Newcastle, etc. But I think he'll play. Wolves really need him. They don't have a good backup. And if he does it, if he doesn't start, I'm pretty sure he just won't be in the squad. There is a small chance he's benched and comes on, but I'll take that risk. So Dewsbury Hall will become cover. So option 1, Palmer to someone like Semenyo, Sarr, Kudus, Dango Utara as a punt from Brentford for 6 million, Reinders, maybe Tielemans as well, and then Guiu up to Wood, Mateta or João Pedro. That's option 1. If I wasn't sure about free hitting in 6, I'd probably go for Wood. West Ham at home this week, Burnley away in 5, Sunderland at home in 6 looks really good. But if I am free hitting in 6, I actually prefer Mateta. Because then I get Mateta against Sunderland at home in Game Week 4 rather than Chris Wood away to Arsenal. And then in Game Week 6 when I free hit, I can just get Wood for that Sunderland at home game. I don't think I'm going to go for João Pedro. If Cole Palmer was ruled out for 5 or 6 weeks, I'd probably just get João Pedro, hope that he takes penalties and know that his minutes are gone right up. But right now, I just don't see him as massively better than I did before the season started. And for that reason, I'm probably going to continue to ignore him and hate it. I will say, Sarr and Mateta is my favourite combination, but the fact they've just played in Europe on a plastic pitch, I guess is the best way to put it, not ideal before going to Villa away. And I do wonder if Europe will eventually catch up with them. But Villa away, Sunderland at home, West Ham away, next 3 is really good. If I go for option 1, improve squad depth, gives me the option to potentially bench boost in Game Week 5, so to get that out of the way before I wildcard, and I can save the wildcard for further down the line. Option 2 is to go to a 6 million or less midfielder. So Dango Utara, Tielemans, Reinders, or Elliot Anderson, someone like that. And then Guiu straight to Gyökeres from Arsenal. Now, it feels so wrong to buy him before Liverpool away. But with the Havertz injury, we know he's going to play number 9, first choice, great minutes. He's going to be on penalties as well. And Forest at home in 4, not bad. City at home in 5, not great but not terrible, I guess, for him. Arsenal are capable of scoring a goal or 2 in that. And then Game Week 6, I'm probably going to free hit, I think, to get Haaland. So I miss the Newcastle away game, if I want to, for Gyökeres. And then Game Week 7 onwards, that's when Arsenal's fixtures get really good. So usually I would not target Liverpool away, but in this scenario, maybe Gyökeres I can make an exception because he's a good option from 4 onwards. I don't know if I want to pick a 6 million or less midfielder. I quite like the idea of going Sarr. There's part of me wondering, I'm just going to go on a ramble now, part of me wondering if I'm just overthinking this. Just get Reinders. If he'd blanked in Game Week 1 and smashed it in Game Week 2, would I even be considering this? I'd probably just get Reinders in, right? He's still going to be a good option for Man City. I've got no doubts about that. And I just get Gyökeres straight in. And basically, he would stay in my team until I wildcard because of Arsenal's later on good fixtures. So that's what I'm basically thinking about. If I run that through to my team tool on Fantasy Football Hub just quickly, so if I just get rid of Palmer for a second, I'm going to put Utara in for a minute because there is part of me that wants to punt on him because he's got Sunderland this week. I don't see me doing it. I think I would just get Reinders, but let's just put him in for now. And then I put Gyökeres in. So if I just make that transfer, save it and optimize, then the team obviously becomes 3-4-3, Dewsbury Hall on the bench. Looks quite good. And with Saka out, Palmer out, is Gyökeres against Liverpool the worst thing this week? I don't feel like I'm going up against massive amounts of other forwards. I guess Chris Wood against West Ham at home, not great. And then game week 4, obviously, he's got Forest at home. So it looks a little bit better. And I could either play Dewsbury Hall against Villa at home and bench Strand Larson, or just play Strand Larson, which I would probably do. And all of a sudden, it looks okay having Gyökeres in the team. Like, if I've already got him, I don't mind playing him against City. And then game week 6, I'd free hit. Then game week 7, it's like West Ham at home. Then game week 8, it's Fulham away. Game week 9, it's Palace at home. It just looks like a nice option. But I do also if I just go back to game week 3, I do also just quite like the idea of getting Mateta in. And instead of Utara, like, the problem with Brentford is Sunderland away looks good. It's a bit like West Ham players in game week 1. But after that, Chelsea at home, Fulham away, Man United at home, City at home, it's not quite so good. But I do think Utara will do well. I think his numbers at Bournemouth are really good. But anyway, I could just put Sarr in. And that looks a little bit better this week, I would say, just because it's Villa. But I think Villa will do okay. And then in game week 4, we've got Sunderland at home with 2 attackers. And I can even do Nico Williams to Munoz and then just free hit him back in for game week 6. So there's options there. I don't think I'm going to panic on the wild card, and I'm like 99, maybe not that high, like 95% sure I'm going to sell Palmer. I don't think my squad can put up with a Palmer benching. I don't want to sell Wirtz instead. He's got Burnley away in 4. So Palmer to Sarr, Guiu to Mateta is my current favoured option. We'll see what I end up doing. I'll probably make those transfers tonight ahead of the deadline tomorrow just because the price changes. Let's see. If you've enjoyed that video, make sure to give it a like, hit that subscribe button. Check out Fantasy Football Hub using the links in the description below. Don't forget, if you sign up before game week 3 and follow all the steps and you don't get a green arrow, you will get your money back. So check that out. Terms and conditions apply. And I will catch you tomorrow for the deadline stream.